Hello again. I have driven down further south from Suffolk, still in Suffolk, from where I was staying in Bottisdale in Suffolk, where I was seeing the clients there, sauna box guys, and I've been doing a bit of a Orwell journey, just traveling around some of the Orwell sites, Southwold, I think that's how you say it. They have a bit of a homage to Orwell there, which he spent some time in when he was a teenager, I believe. And then I decided to come down here to park on the banks of the Orwell River, where he decided that Eric Blair was too, what's the opposite of anonymous? Known. And he decided to publish under the name George Orwell. And this is the river. Eric Blair to George Orwell. Always good sometimes to camouflage, I think. To be able to say things that, you were a bit unsure of. I believe his father wasn't sure about what he was going to say. Or some of his ideas. And I know everybody, not everybody, but lots of people think Orwell is important. And of course, Orwell is important. But me personally, I think, well, number one, he is my favourite modern author by far. And that's even including C.S. Lewis and even G.K. Chesterton. Let's say most important, certainly political writer. And we know all the obvious ones about 1984 and Animal Farm, and we know the sense of prophetic nature of it. Big Brother is watching you and all the rest, but those things are true. But more than that, what really impressed me, and Christopher Hitchens loves Orwell as well, which he has, you can see YouTube him talking about Orwell, and Christopher Hitchens points this out, as I realized, is his ability just to be a journalist and to get down in amongst the poor, to understand the poor. Socialism was happening. He went, socialism of various sorts, from the communist revolutionary, right through to various shades of socialism, anarchism, etc. And that was happening, and he tried to understand, well, what is it really like to be the working poor? And so he lived amongst them. That's what impressed me. It wasn't journalism from afar. It was journalism. It wasn't snide, commenting or commentary. It was on the road to Wigan Pier, he writes, he goes and lives and goes down the mines and lives and records and embeds himself in mining communities. And then in Down and Out in Paris and London, he spends time in the lowest of the low, kitchens in Parisian hotels, down in the bowels where the dishes were washed and all sorts of horrible things were revealed about the food. But simply struggling to survive amongst that community. And then in Down and Out in Paris and London, he goes to London, and he does the tramping. He lives with tramps, and I didn't realise why they were called tramps. The tramp was the walk, the tramp, the walking, and it was because the poor houses of the time, the places where they were allowed to sleep, you're only allowed to sleep one night. Therefore, many people walked from place to place, tramped along, the London roads. And so he lived with those guys and was, anonymous, and had a pseudonym even there to find out what life was really like, in order to best understand how the oppressed, if you like, could fight for themselves at some level, speak for themselves, speak up. And he wasn't one for big ideologies and party politics. In his book Homage to Catalonia, where he fought against the Franco fascists in Spain, he discovered that once he was injured and moved back to Barcelona, that there was massive infighting amongst the left, the socialist, and was massively disappointed by what he found there. So he still believed in the cause, and he believes in the cause, and he articulated the cause, but remained this stalwart individual, not having to follow one party version of it or another. So such an advocate for individualism and the rights of the vulnerable, in the sense of those with less, or those with less power. So just a massively impressive figure, because he lived and moved and you know, tried to work out what it's like to actually live amongst people who are vulnerable. That really resonates with me. And I've written essays about that and all sorts of things. So George Orwell, I came down to the Orwell River, came to see Southwold and other places, and I actually passed a place in Suffolk called Manor Farm. Now, I know there's other manor farms that he stayed near, but interesting that there are manor farms, like in Animal Farm. So there you go, George Orwell. Go read his stuff. Get it in Audible. I read it. I was read to by him. Not by him, by somebody else. All right, everybody. Bye.